What up, YouTube? There's my dude. What's up, Jay? Doc, what's up? Doing all right, man. I nominate. Oh yeah. Give that man the tool. Good call, ground pounder. JC, what's up, brother? Got my boat, he says. I made you a mod, Jay. We need some more mods around here, especially since Billy's not around. I didn't get a chance to run over to YouTube and try to check on him and stuff, but yeah, I need to. I had to give you the tool. You gotta, I mean, the ground pounder was beating you with little things next to his name. You gotta match you up. If my brother was on here, I'd give him the same stuff too. Oh, okay, let me see here. I kind of want to mess with this lighting a little bit. See if I can get it a little better. Do that. Yeah, I mean, lighting's pretty good. Ooh, I don't know, that I'm a little blown out when I get up by the camera. How about now? I'm getting, man, I'm blinded because I just looked into that light. I can barely see anything right now. I'm getting new fluorescent lights in here, so it should be much better here soon. I'm a wrench man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. And ground pounder. First, I'm going to start this one off by saying, I don't know what happened, but the last live feed, I think we almost did like 15,000. And we beat the record on thumbs up. I think it was like 58 or something. So that was unreal. This, okay, I don't want to overlap my live feeds. So the way we'll do this is I kind of want to use this opportunity just to discuss like technical flaws that I see and maybe some safety tips, and then also I'm not digging at my butt. I got probably looks the same. I got this my notes back here in my back pocket, and I already put my saddle on. It just looked like I started a YouTube video live and then started digging at my ass. But yeah, tomorrow we throw the badge on. We got some tickets. There's some felonies this week. So Brush Life, what's up, man? How are you? So let's get into it. First thing I want to discuss is something that I see, and it'll be just working down a spar. So the biggest issue that I see most of the time is just that guys, oh shoot, use that, that'd be perfect. guys, just first, okay, let's start this. I want to continue on a conversation that educated climber Tree Mugs, Patrick, he's got 3 different names, that's wild. But he started this conversation, and he just put a video out talking about it. Can you learn to climb trees from YouTube? And on that particular subject, if you asked me originally, I would agree with Patrick completely, but I think I have a bit of a different stance on it, and it's only because of the times changing so much. Do I agree with it? Do I like it? Those are all different answers. Like, I don't think it's a good thing to try to solely learn this skill from YouTube. But I can guarantee you there's a guy out there that has. It's just, that's the world we live in now. My opinion, in my opinion, what's the best way? I say learn from a guy who does tree work and has done it for a long period of time and has a bit of a clean record. He can show you the nuances at the beginning to keep it from being so painful, because, like, from what I see, climbers these days would learn how to use a Rope Runner Pro before they ever even touched a hitch cord, or would use a zigzag before then they don't know how to tie a taut line, and just, it's unreal. I see Joseph. Joseph, what's going on, man? How are you? It's unreal to me, but it's just the way things are these days. So I personally, yeah, I think you could, and I think somebody probably does learn everything from YouTube. But I think the where YouTube shines is YouTube can take a tree climber who is just good enough to get the job done and turn him into an absolutely skilled tree climber by opening his eyes and like showing him some techniques that just take him to that next level. So he says you shouldn't. It's not a primary resource. It's a secondary. So I agree 100% there. I think it's best if you could go get experience, because this may be shocking to some of you, but there are people out there that probably know how to set up an entire rigging system. Just you guys that come and watch me could probably set a rigging system up in a tree, but you don't even know how to get into the tree. They understand the angles and forces to rigging, but they've never rigged a piece in their life. There are guys out there that have this ability to make things fun when it comes to learning. I don't know that I have that. I more try to figure out my way to. I have an issue when I try to learn things that I feel like people try to overcomplicate the explanation when it comes to how to do a certain thing. So they lose me a lot of times during that whole step because they're trying to sound incredibly smart, and I'm not the biggest fan of that, for me personally. So when I go to explain things, I feel like where I kind of shine is I just try to simplify as much as I possibly can to make it a little more relatable and understandable. But you guys are crazy. You're definitely not, Jay. But there are other guys out there that have the ability to make that aspect kind of fun, but there are too many sources on YouTube that are teaching things that they don't really know. They see that another YouTube tree climber discussed it. They may have tried it once and they're ready to give you a how-to video on it and explain it as they're doing it when they really haven't. They may understand the mechanics, but you don't understand the physical aspect of it. And that's where I think a lot of it goes to. Go find a guy to learn this from and do it, because you can know everything. You can know every technique in the world. You can know every trick, every little like special, skill that it takes, and like have every little tool. It don't mean you know how to do it. I'm telling you right now, majority of the time when I click on YouTube and I see a YouTube fail video come up, the guy who's failing is always dressed up in a full matching getup. He looks like a Power Ranger. He's got the pants on, he's got the jacket on, the shirt on, the hard hat on. He spent $1,000, $2,000 on his getup, and he probably should have spent some time using the saw, my opinion. But Addie loves three fit. Jinx. How are we, Addie? So I just think I need to spend some time doing the work a little more. There's just too much focus on trying to look the part, and then, a lot of people apparently are dumb enough to just click on that person and subscribe to them and blindly follow them. Some of the guys that have the bigger YouTube channels, I think it's not because, I promise you that a lot of YouTube subscribers does not mean you're good at what you do. It doesn't mean you're the best because you have the most. Like, it can be the exact opposite. There are guys out there that have very big channels and they're very, very, very good. Then there are other guys that have huge channels, but they just knew how to play the game. Oliver, how are you? And they've built this huge following, and it's almost a facade that you expect as you click on this channel. And they have this amazing setup for their channel. Everything's organized nice. It's top of the line. The quality's all there. And they have all the equipment in the world, and they're having people send them gear for free. Bailey, how are you? They have them send them gear for free and everything, and they don't really know what they're kind of doing at times, and it comes off. It's very obvious. There are tree climbers out there that have a character. Like, you can't have an emergency happen and act like it's no big deal. Something went wrong. There's a difference between being calm in bad situations and being ignorant to the point that your ego won't let you show that was worrisome. This isn't the job for it. Take that somewhere else. It's not the place for it. So first, I just want to focus on, you get to a tree and you're working the spar down. This is my opinion on this. And it's kind of a touchy subject that gets kind of thrown around at times. But let's say you're rigging this down. Where do you put your lanyard as opposed to your tree climbing line? So you have a lifeline and you have a lanyard. When you make a cut, you're always supposed to be tied in twice in case one of these was to fail. Climb line fails, my lanyard catches me. My lanyard fails and I cut it, my climb line catches me. So when you're rigging on a spar, you have a false crotch that you use. I'm going to do this. So this will be, let's pretend this is a pulley. Is that, okay, let me put it a little more towards you guys. So, you can see. So the problem a lot of times that guys run into is, where do I put my stuff? Like, what goes where? Because if you're making this cut here, this needs to be right, because I don't want this. I'll go down a little further. Because I want it to be exactly. So, you can pretend that's a ring, you can pretend that's a pulley, whatever it is you want it to be is what it is. And you're going to start rigging. We'll even get a little rigging line here. Okay, so you have this mess of like lines, ropes, everything's in your way. Now, I think the biggest tree YouTube channel out there is guilty of treason. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure it is the biggest YouTube channel out there when it comes to tree work. So, he does a lot. He's a good tree climber. He's doing a hell of a job running his business. I don't think he needs to be given any advice on how to. I think he has all the skills. I think he's at times too arrogant to use them. Just my opinion. You'll catch him all the time. He'll be tied in here. And instead of like, and he needs to, let's say he just did this piece and he moves the system down. Instead of retying in, he'll just straight lanyard. So now he's not tied in at all, and he's just using this. So he's at the top of the tree. He points out how he's tied in while he's up there. He's like, yeah, because you want to be tied in twice. This because he wants to teach, I guess. I think you should just not express your opinion if 2 seconds later you're going to turn around and absolutely contradict what you just said. So, this is literally, he's up 20 feet up from where he ends up being. 20 feet up, he's tied in, he's doing a couple branches. He says it's super important to be tied in twice. Because if one of these was to fail and you cut yourself or anything happens, you need to be able to get down fast. So, the problem when you're doing this is you'll have the rigging rope, the system will be up like this, it'll fall down, and at times it will pinch one of these lines. So his advice was climb line on top, lanyard underneath. So I don't agree with that. The reason he said it is because it's important to be able to get down quick. So let's say my lanyard got pinched. I guess I could unclip, leave it there, and get down, straight down. Okay, I do like that. But I think there's a better way. So I would move this one down, and the reason this is scary is because a lot of times you're way up here with it. Okay. You're right above your cut, or right below the cut. You make your notch in the back, you cut, you push this big piece off. Your rope is like right there then. And you're worried if it was to shake the tree, it could come off. So, my opinion, if you're SRT, there's no reason that the climb line couldn't and shouldn't go below the rigging. And then the lanyard above. Now, if we go and we end up, the piece comes off, lanyard up there, and the piece comes off, it doesn't matter if it pinches where I got my anchor at. I can still go down. So let's say, okay, maybe he doesn't use this because he's thinking DRT. This same concept works with DRT. The exact same. You just use a prusik. or not a prusik, but a cambium saber. And you run dual rope. It goes around right here. It pinches together. You put your line through, and same thing. If it comes down, it pinches the cambium saber, which is an anchor point, just like a canopy anchor, or you're anchored off to the stem here, which is basically a canopy anchor. It's stationary. It's only an anchor. So if it gets weight put onto it and dropped onto it, it's not a problem. So just simple little things like that, putting yourself in the right position, is super important. So he says that up there, explains to you what order you should do this, drops down about 20 foot, is only tied in with the lanyard, then makes a big cut, and says, "Oh, I wasn't tied in twice, but this is much safer anyway. I feel safer, and this is much safer." He has a really bad habit of saying that stupid shit, which I like Jake. This is nothing on him personally, but he says some stupid shit sometimes, where he says a lot. He's climbing a 200-foot tree. That's a straight pole, and he says, "I feel much safer just on my lanyard." Well, maybe run in and go have your head checked, because like common sense is the thing that I think the world lacks nowadays, and you have to be lacking a whole bunch of common sense to think being tied in once is safer than being tied in twice. It's called being lazy. That doesn't make you feel safer. You're lazy and you don't want to have to move too. So just be honest and tell the truth. Don't say you feel safer, you feel more comfortable. Like, that's not true. You can't. There's something wrong with you if that's true. You may feel more agile. You may be a little quicker. But that's not true. Like, none of that is just my opinion on this. But I think I'm not a brilliant person. I'm far, far, far from a genius. I'm very simple-minded. But I think I have about as much common sense as you could have. And certain things just need to be explained to me, even if I don't get them. And I don't need to relearn them 50 times. So, common sense in that situation, if you're dropping a bunch of weight down, put the system that you can anchor there that doesn't need to move. The lanyard needs to move. It needs to come off. So, what if in his situation, he's tied off like he said, he's hooked up here, but and lanyard around, let's say that fear thing, that scary thing that we were talking about, the reason you have to have two of them, he pushes that piece off and this pops off the top. Now your lanyard's stuck. Now you can't go down. Like you can't go, this thing needs to move. If you have to use this, it needs to move. So put the object, the device, the system that doesn't require movement in the area where it may be stuck and not able to move. I feel like if a little bit of time gets spent and just a little bit of thought gets put into it, a lot of these goofy little things don't happen. But it's the nature, I think, of YouTube. Even if a guy doesn't think that he's, just from what I've seen, even if a guy doesn't think personally he's super smart, the more followers he gets, he starts to believe his own hype. And he instantly becomes a genius and feels that he should explain everything he does. I don't know if that's because you don't want to take the time out and answer a comment for somebody, so you do it in the video, because people are like, what's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? Or if it's, I don't really know. I'm envious. I would love I would love for my channel to be something that makes money. That would be awesome. But my channel didn't grow like that. We grinded very, very, very slow, put out a whole lot of content, and that's just basically the way my life is ran. Every technique I feel like I've learned them the hard way. I've struggled the whole way. I didn't have anybody to teach me anything other than the basics, and then I had to figure a lot of this stuff out on my own. So when you're trying to learn a technique and you see something, you're scrolling through the internet and you stumble across this tree guy that does this technique, then you're like, well, that was impressive. Like, I would love to do that. I'm going to try that. Well, try it. But don't wait for it to be that tree that's hanging over the top of the house before you decide to use the technique. I mean, I'm guilty of it too, where I'll think like, is there a way of doing a special kind of rigging, and try to look something up the night before to familiarize myself with it, and then maybe use it the next day. But every time I get there and I think about using it, I don't, because I don't have that trust in it yet. Anything I'm going to tell you, and anything I really show here, I've used and I've trusted for a long time before I'm going to discuss it. What's the hardest tree you've done? Oh. I don't know, man. I really don't know. That's a tough one. That's a really, really tough one. Like, I went down south one time, and they had called down multiple tree companies to get this massive oak tree off this old lady's house. She was being evicted because they wouldn't let her stay in it anymore because it became a danger. It was like kind of just rested on the house. It uprooted. A tornado had came through. Well, they asked a bunch of tree companies. None of them could do it except for if they brought cranes in. They said they could do it with a crane. And that one was tough. I went down there and did it for the lady, and did it like it was almost a charity thing, but it was incredibly hard. And the hardest trees that I've ever done, though, have been documented and are on the channel. So I don't know. That's a really hard one for me to answer. I don't know what's going on in this stream, but one thing I do know is that it's not going to escape. No, I got it locked in. It's here. It's upside down too. Like, this is the actual bottom of it. So it doesn't work as good as I want it to a lot of times when I'm doing these demos and stuff. But I think probably one of the core things we're going to do is I'm going to explain to you. I just put out on my memberships, okay? The second part of a rigging video where the tree went out kind of like, there's a house here, the tree went out like this and arched over and almost started to grow down. Had no central leader, no top, nothing like that. So you have to be very, very, very like picky and like choosy with where you put these rings. I'm going to show you on this thing here. So what I did is I went out and I climbed into the back of my trailer load of brush, and I found us a new demo tree here. The problem is that backdrop is really hard to see all that stuff. So I tell you what I think I'm gonna do is I may move you guys. Dang, that sucks though, because I have to. Let's see. Can we kind of start to see it a little more if I move it like over here? How's that? It's still rough. All the hats in the background. What if I get rid of them? See what I do for you guys? That starts to be, yeah, okay. Yeah, that should work pretty good. Yeah, you guys can see that. There we go. Can we see 21? That would be gnarly. So I'm gonna explain to you. I didn't really look at this tree, or this tree, this mini tree, to see where I was gonna show this rigging stuff from. But let's choose. See if I look at it. I want the most flimsy limb, and I'm gonna show you how to make that limb strong. So let's pretend like we got a house here. All right, this is a house. It is right there. Okay. Now we can't rig anything here. Let's say that's a road that's off the bench here. Behind it, there's a fence. So we have Chainsaw Man here. He's ready to go to work. He brought all three of his saws. His right one, his left one, and his face one. So we're definitely ready. He's just for business, but totally ready to party. So he's got to remove this tree, and his only option to rig from is this flimsy. Oh, it's kind of off camera. Let me move you in just a little more. Sorry. This one right here is his only option to rig from. He's got the house. He's got all the other mess. And Echo is no go. Not an Echo fan, Levi? Echoes, I think Echo made they make a good saw. I know years and years back, they invested multiple millions of dollars for a testing facility to increase performance and like do a bunch of experimental work on their saws to upgrade. And since then, they've been putting out stuff like the 2511, and so some guys swear by them. I'm a steel guy, hence the name. And but yeah, they make a pretty good saw. Okay, so we got this big mess. We need to, let's say here, that's our lowering zone. That's the area that's designated that we have to lower stuff. And we don't really have an option. That's where it has to be. Let's see if I can. Maybe hit that thing with some light. Oh no. Shoot. I set it all up and then walked away and smacked it. That should help some. Okay. Now I'm gonna move all this stuff out of the way. It's always chaos after these live feeds. I always have so much stuff to pick up afterwards. So Stitch Hitch. Yeah, I still haven't got to see that, man. I know what you're talking about, but I'm gonna try it out a few times, and then we'll discuss. Definitely, we'll do a live feed and discuss it. But I can't talk out of both sides of my mouth. I don't want to be like the rest of the YouTube tree guys, and I guess I can't say the rest. Some of the YouTube tree guys that say one thing and turn around and do another. So I got a rigging rope right here. All right. We got to see. Look at this. We got the setup. I'm telling you. We got our rigging rope. Okay. We got just a loopy ring. We got a big set of double rings. We've got another set of double rings. We got a dead eye ring. And we have an extra little redirect ring in case we need it. So I'd say, so we'll start with this one. It should fit on there, I think. So you want a good high point on these things. I don't know if this ring is too big to go through the. Let me close. Oh man. Okay, so you want a good high point. All right, so we're hooked in there. You should be able to see the movement pretty good. Where's that ring at on the camera? Okay, yeah, it's just in the camera. Okay, so now I want to put us a bit of a ring here for like for a bollard or a porter wrap or whatever it is that you use, a lowering device. That's what this will kind of symbolize. Okay. So I want that pretty much tighter. Okay. All right. So if we were just doing this, let's rig off of that. We get this little branch here. And I'll show you. See, we're lowering right where we want here. Where Chainsaw Man's at. Now, I would never rig like this, especially anything that has any weight. The reason is because this negative space, this thing is, I'm using it in almost the worst way. The only way this could get any worse is if we removed it out of the ring and we stood underneath it. Now, if I take both of these and I just pull down, look at the flex. That's barely touching. That limb comes so far down. Now, if we change the route instead of straight up and straight back down, let's go ahead and just tie this on. And this will be the designated weight each time. And if it's enough, we'll just drop it into it each time and see how it responds. And I can show you just by doing that. So, hook it up. About right there. Well, we always want to make it about the same, so I want to drop to about right there. Chainsaw Man's in the way. So I'll just lock it off. I got a little nail down here, or screw. But lock it off. Take it up here. We'll drop it down. Yeah. That, not only did it take it and shake it and twist it, your damage points are going to be here, which there's like included bark in there. These unions are not safe to be using. And then you got here. Not to mention the distance between the trunk and how far away the actual limb is. This space from there. It becomes weaker and weaker the further away it is. Not to mention gravity is also almost like it's straight up and down. Gravity, after you cut something, you know where it's going. Gravity just after it stops being straight up and down, it starts to grow at an angle. Gravity's now fighting that thing and just wanting it to go over. You know, it's not helping it. So we can strengthen this right here by changing where we drop in at, and we just go to the ring. The problem is, you've seen the negative space there. So if we took that rope straight up and straight back down, and it lowers there, look at this into this space. That's not good. that you're going to get the most shake. And I guarantee you, if this was real and you were rigging all this big stuff out off of this, this would break. Without a doubt. It's going to fail, and it's probably going to smash a dude. But you can strengthen this and use this thing, and instead of causing this to happen, I can show you how to set the system up to where it pulls up on it. It no longer pulls down, it's pulling up. So where you were allowed to drop this much weight into it and it would almost fail, you can double and sometimes even triple the weight up, and it's gonna, the potential for it failing is just, it's not there as much because of the directions you're causing pulling. So we move it to that, you're still gonna end up with a pretty good shock load. Now, if I'm setting rings and I'm trying to create a strong system up in the tree, usually my first thing I do is to put a redirect. So the redirect, the purpose for it, and on this one, this little screw is what I'm locking off to, so that's like my bollard. But the redirect is there to align it with the lowering device. I want the rope to come straight down into the lowering device. I want it to be clean. I don't want a bunch of negative space here, because this, if this branch came down, it hooks a hold of it, gets caught up, it can get wrapped around, and then it won't lower. It's just, it's ugly, and it's not helping you. It's causing, like, you're pushing the chance of this breaking. It's just, it's gonna break. I'm telling you. I've done this. I've broke them. I know how this, I know how it works. So I don't take those risks anymore, and I learned how to build a strong rigging system. So the fear of that ever happening to me is almost not there. You know, you can't always tell with a tree because it's a living thing. Like, it could have some stuff going on inside that you don't know about. But if I'm trying to build this into the strongest rigging system I can, I have my first one, which normally you'd have a bollard here. So my first ring would probably be right in here. And it would direct it straight down to my bollard. Then is when we start to build the system. The first one's always predetermined, at least for me. Now I'm building a climbing system, or a rigging system. So my fear of this branch is that it fails this way. So I want to pull back on that branch. When is this branch going to be at its strongest? When it's being pulled back. Like, if you could pull on this branch from any way to break it, you're going to try to pull straight down on it. Now, if you're trying to pull it and keep it there and at its strongest, you're just going to go the opposite of that. So if I would pull down that way to break it, I would pull back to strengthen. So I share the load. I put a ring. Am I too high? Nope. Okay. My next ring would go here. I don't know what that was that just fell, but it sounded like a BB or something. Okay, so now to there. You could rig massive stuff off of this right here, but I think I would probably want to make it a little stronger. And the reason for it, it's hard to see from the camera angle you're at, but I've created some negative space here that I don't like. That negative space being here. And a good rigging system, the strongest rigging system, is not going to involve a lot of negative space. It's not going to be there. So I have options. I could put one here, and it would pull it into the system and go straight up. Or, if you look at this branch, Jesus, Chainsaw Man, what do you keep falling for? It's broke. It's cracked. So what if that was real? That thing was cracked. I would still use that. But what I would do is I would then back that thing up. So my fear of that branch breaking, I would want to cause some compression into it. And you almost would think you would go over here, but the opposite, like if I wanted to break this branch, I would pull down this way. I want to go back. So this back stem is actually going to solve all my problems. This little back stem here, it's got these little sprouts coming out, would be my choice of where to put this. I would try to put it as high up it as I could, and it's going to serve two purposes. It is going to allow me to strengthen the limb that I'm fearful something could happen with, and it's now taken away, eliminated the negative space I had here. So now we go here to here, and we've changed the direction on how all these branches are going to get pulled on. Yeah, okay. So now let me show you guys this a little more up close. So your rigging goes from there straight up, and you can see I'm spinning it around. There's not a bunch of negative space anywhere. We're following the contours of the tree because we want to cause compression. Jay, what are you doing? Read the message, bro. Oh, shoot. Somebody. I'm sorry. Let me see. Hey, Mike, can you explain why the limb is weak and how to look for when rigging? Lots of new guys don't know the concept. Oh, yeah. So, now if I'm looking at this, I'm going to predetermine my rigging point. Is that, Jay, is that the comment that you wanted me to look at? I'm sorry. You shouldn't. I would have looked eventually. Damn it. Okay, at least, yeah. Okay, $2. Right on. Don't you give me enough. Chill. Okay. Yeah. I got you. Them things light the whole screen up. I wasn't even looking really at the screen, and then all of a sudden it was there. So I'm looking at this, and I have predetermined my lowering point. That's usually the first thing I'm gonna look at. Where am I gonna want to rig from? Where am I gonna lower from? This is my only drop space, so I designate this. So then the next thing I do is I start determining what on the tree has a weak point and why. So first I would look at it, has it been trimmed? Because new growth is always weaker. So if I was to take and I cut this branch off, someone topped the tree and new branches grew out, the grain patterns are never going to match up. They were never meant to match up. So that's going to be a weak point. Other things that you're looking for is included bark and just visually bad unions. So that doesn't look like a strong union where these two grew together. There's kind of defects. You see, like, you'll see where bark starts to overlap. You start to see seams, stuff like that. And you know what you want is out of this stem here, it should have grew straight up, like it should have kept growing. But for some reason, this stopped and did this like almost like a crow's foot there, and it's got this big wide open union. And a lot of times if you're looking up in a tree and you see something like that, more often than not that area starts to hold water, and you'll get rot, and you'll see a bunch of rot and stuff. So I'm looking at that. I know that's not a good union, and when you look at it, you want vertical. When things start to go up, and then all of a sudden they like V off, and they like dog leg. If I was to eliminate this limb and this limb, and I'm just looking at this, that is a gnarly dog leg that the tree did out of nowhere. So you know your grains are all messed up in there. So in my opinion, that's a union that I want to watch out for. I wouldn't it'd be hard to trust this thing and feel good about it. So it worries me big time. So then you got union here. This one, my main concern with it is there's quite a big seam. So if I bring this over to the camera and show you in there, you can see that seam. So that's usually what you'll see with a codom tree. It gets a little stump, and then what's going on, Marcus? Then it goes up and it V's out, and that little trunk now has to support this massive section. So same with this. If this was an actual tree, and you have to remember the growth patterns are going to be a bit different here because this wasn't an actual tree. It didn't have a root system. It was a tip of a branch. But same concept. Union here doesn't look the strongest, but I like how it went vertical as best as it could. But the problem was right here it dog-legged and it forked out in multiple branches. They're cut off, but they also forked out. And it dog-legs back and starts to make a curl. So I want vertical, straight, strong-looking branches, and you can without deformities in them. So those are a lot of them things are things that you can absolutely see from the ground just by kind of trying to diagnose it. So even though this all looks great, before I would throw my climb line up into there and definitely use it as a tie-in point, I would walk around this tree and look at it, and then on my way up, I'm inspecting. So maybe as I was going up this one, as I go up this one here, I'm working up, and I'm like, dang, that union kind of looks kind of gnarly. I don't like that. And that's where my rigging point's going to be at. Well, that's going to be a bummer. So I climb on up. Then when I get here, I'm like, damn, there's a crack. And it still looks to be strong. Ooh, it opens big time. I would probably, if I was really doing this one, I would ratchet strap this union together. And then maybe, yeah, just a ratchet strap would be more than enough for me. I would ratchet strap that thing real good and know that I got a bit of an issue here, but I kind of need this to make this whole system work and work the best. So you could technically, you could bypass this one if you were really that worried about it. Bypass it and go over here and then cause these two branches to go together. But I don't like how they both dogleg. These unions here, like we're fixing the ones that where you can't break them down, but I'm a little worried about how they could break the other, like going together this way because of these little dog legs in them. So that's why I try not to use them. Your center is always going to have the most strength where the trunk's at, so I try to stick with that. You notice my rigging goes up, it stays on this trunk and goes back here. If I didn't need to cause compression there, I probably would put that one here because I know it's the strongest there. But because I'm worried about that crack, I would 100% put my ring back here. And now, if I just take these two, let's take these two branches here. Okay, so you can probably see the crack there. Now, if I pull on them, that crack closes by me pulling straight down on them. It's a hard one to see. Let's see if I can get it in the camera. Now you see, I'm not grabbing anything other than these two lines right here, which is this ring and this ring. Okay, you can see the crack there. Ready? See, it closes all the way up. And all I'm doing is pulling down. So when I drop weight in the system, I'm now going to close that crack up, which is, that's perfect. Now let's say I wasn't using this ring here. And we grab this line and this line. So we're just grabbing the one ring here, and we pulled straight down on it. Let's see what the crack does. Oh shoot, it slipped down my fingers. All right, ready? Oh my God. The other thing's getting ready to bust. So just by introducing this other ring right here, we've changed everything here. Like the way this whole thing works, we've changed it by placing another ring a few feet from it. Like it's not even that far away. But we're causing compression now between these two stems. They were separating from each other. We're causing them to compress, which is going to make the entire system stronger. It's going to make the tree stronger, and it's going to allow you to rig much bigger weight. So for me in this situation, I believe this would be the perfect rigging setup for it. I would be very confident rigging anything here. Like even rigging like this whole, how would I do that? I would probably hook up here on this one. As the climber, pull that all together, lock it off. Then as the climber, I would put myself back here, and I would come over, and I would probably go hanging off this spot here, come back here, and fast cut. Maybe even the whole, well, I guess I wouldn't have to do that. I could just put a notch on this side, and then start the back cut, and bring this whole branch around. Because remember, house, road, fence. So there's no need, I don't have to go that big. I could go much smaller. But in them situations where I'm going kind of big like that, I may even share the load back. That way I'm not swinging it so far. So if you notice here, and we were hooked up to rig this branch, I would have to, if we cut it here, okay, let's say that, I would have to, this piece would have to swing all the way, it would almost get close to being down before it ever got into the system. So I think I can show you that by using this branch. And we hook it on from the same height. And remember, this thing is much longer here, but so if we drop that down, because that's locked off. This thing comes all the way down. Oh shoot, grab that for it. It's pretty close to being to the ground. So you have to think about that. In my opinion, it's really not worth it to take that risk, because what if a car comes by and you swing that piece and it smacks it? So in that situation, I would run probably a span rigging setup and do it that way instead. The only, like, that's pretty easy. So what I would do is either slap another redirect like here or off of this back or something. I mean, I guess I could do that. I could take this, I could bring it back here, and off that back stem, I could run another redirect. And then what that does is it just, allows me to very easily swing that thing over in the direction that I kind of want, but it doesn't have to swing that far. So if I went into that, I'm still making the whole tree do what I want. I'm causing compression on all these unions, that's what you want every time you're rigging. Buzz hooked up. Now I could cut this piece. Where were we cutting? We were cutting it there. I could cut it here, and it's only going to go back to here. But look what we're doing with the system. We're causing these two branches to go together there. We're causing these two branches to go together there. And we're causing compression all the way down the log. That's an ideal rigging setup. Like, you can't get any better than that. Like, that's perfect. That's what you want. Now, some people may look at this and say, well, I'm worried about too much on this stem because you got two sets of rings on this one stem really close. I wouldn't probably leave this because, you know, the best lowering spot was there. This is going to be tight to lower it here. You're next to the fence. But for at least one branch, because we need that height, and the piece is so long, you don't want to smack something. So we could cut that one off there. If it was there, we cut it down. It'd swing to like right there. You could lower it down right on the back side of the tree. Then come over here and disconnect that set of rings if you don't need them anymore. Leave them there, even like if you don't, I would just leave them. If you don't need them, just leave them there, and then when you go get your other set of rings, get them. Take a rope, pass it back and around, and now, without that section being there, we could hook up a little lower, and I have much more faith that I could come down here now, and this is where I would make a fast cut on the back side, and I would fast cut that off, and what's going to happen is the butt weight here is going to pull the whole thing, and it's going to go like this into the ground, because it's if this wasn't there, you've only got this much height here, and then you're going to have all this butt weight. So what's going to happen is as it swings, it's just going to go almost in a stationary fashion, straight down and away from the house and right over here, and it'll be standing up in the air. So you wouldn't be able to do that piece without a strong setup. I mean, I guess you could if you want it to break out, but we looked at this tree, we diagnosed it, we figured out where we thought the fearful spots are at in the tree, and we basically canceled them out, which is, in my opinion, every single time that you do a rigging setup, you should diagnose the tree, figure out where your danger points are at, and attempt to eliminate them so that you're not dealing with them throughout the whole task, and you can focus on the sketchy, dangerous aspect of just doing the rigging. The rigging is enough in its own. It's always scary, it's always sketchy, but the rigging is its own thing, 100%. So you need to be able to focus on that 100. I would feel comfortable rigging any of this weight out on that rigging point now, and would have no problem with it. Now, like I was saying before, you could also span rig this. So if you wanted to eliminate some of that swing there, you could use that set of rings, or say if you had a speed line strap, you could take a speed line strap here and hook it on about midway. Take your rope and anchor it now to this stem. Ooh, I don't know if I would do that. I would probably do it to the main stem because of that crack. If that crack wasn't there, I would go to that. So let's see what that looks like now. So this is what you end up with. Your line goes up through here to the back stem, then up to the main stem, which has a crack in it, you're compressing over to your best rigging point where you want to lower it where all the good stuff's at. Then it comes over and it's almost like just setting up another set of rings. But if you had a speed line strap like we used over there, you would just throw it around and clip it to the span of rope. Now I see guys call rigging where they have 2 points and they have 2 ropes, and they've still called that span rigging, and it's definitely not span. Oh my god. Yeah, I guess you have to be able to see it. My bad. Jeez. So hooking this up to span rig it is a little different. I went through the whole explanation. You guys weren't even there. All right. So your rope comes out straight up, causes compression in the trunk, which you want, goes to this back stem back here, then up to the main stem. There's a crack in the thing here. So that's causing compression, which is closing that crack every time. Every time weight drops into that crack closes more. We're running from this point over to this point here. The reason for this one is because it's the best lowering spot, but we're fearful that it'll break downward and out. So too much weight out and down, I think this branch fails and crashes out, comes out right here. So we don't want to be pulling down on it if we can avoid it, and we can. The way we can avoid it is by redirecting a line back behind it in the direction that you would like to pull. So what happens is when weight drops into this, like I'm just going to pull on these 2 lines. See? Them 2 pieces come together. So I'll pull this branch, this one over here. Just so you think that, like, you can see what's happening there. Same way here. When I pull these 2, that crack completely closes. Like, it seals up completely. So we're causing perfect compression in here that we can, as best as we can get. I wouldn't say perfect, but we're getting the best that we can get. Now we have a good high point. We've rigged this out already. Now we want to rig this. So if this was a speed line strap, you would just throw it around the branch real quick, hook it to the span of rope, and then I anchored here. I anchored right below the union where that crack's at, just because I don't want to add any stress out on this one if I can avoid it, because we're causing it to move in the way that's the strongest. So I don't want to negate that by pulling out here somehow by changing a rigging angle. So all of these things are doing what they're doing based on the angle that you're running the rope. The angles we've created here has caused this tree, which was completely sprawled out and kind of gnarly to the point it looked like a lot of these unions are about to fail. With a good wind gust, enough foliage on it, or some ice, this branch is breaking out, this branch is breaking out, that cracked section is definitely breaking out. But this is now, it's stronger than it's ever been. So there's our span of rope. If we disconnect this here, it's called span rigging because we're going to cut the branch here, and this piece is going to travel on this span of rope. Now, I just seen a video from Game of Trees. Those are master arborists. They call themselves master arborists. And they were saying that they were doing a span rigging scenario, and then he showed the double whip tackle with dual rigging. So this is probably very confusing for some people, with guys calling techniques by the wrong name, but still trying to teach them. And like, I'm sure I get some stuff wrong. The way you know it's a span rig is because it's going to be moving on a span of rope. The reason I'm not going to be lowering it with this is because it's now anchored here. And when I anchor that, I've now shared the load between this point and this point for the actual, like, weight or the weight that I'm about to drop in. And when you do this, let's say this branch was on it. The way span rigging works is it will come off, it will go somewhat to the center, but the low point is the direction that the piece is going to slide. So this section here is much higher. This section's much lower, our anchor point. So when the rope starts moving, this piece starts to lower. It's going to lower kind of towards this. It's going to lower probably right in here. That would change. Like, let me just. Damn, I would have to hook it up completely to show you that. I guess I could show you. We'll just anchor something else off. Now let me show you, when you're doing a span rig, there's some things to remember because you can start to get precise. The reason some guys I feel like don't like it, because like with this rigging setup, the lowering point is very precise. It's going to be right there every time. It may do a lot of swinging and crazy stuff, but it's going to lower right here in this drop zone, designated area, every time. Span rigging, it's on a designated area, and depending on the high point and low point, it could change. So if we were rigging off of that and we were going to span rig this, let's see. Let's anchor it back to there. And how do we want to do higher or lower first? Let's do higher. So with it being higher, it should actually, damn, that thing's going to get in the way. As we lower this, this one is actually a little higher than this one. So this piece, if this wasn't in the way, should travel, and instead of being in the middle, it's going to travel a little more to this side. So let's see. Because the span will always drop the weight to the low side. We have so much friction it doesn't even want to come down. Too much friction. Yeah, there's just too much friction with it. I wish I had a pulley so it would run on the rope right and I could show you. But you're always going to be pretty close, and if we didn't have these unions too, because it just kind of stops it. It's always going to be pretty close when you get the piece down to being in the middle. But you can change that point by making one higher or lower. So if we lower this one, let's see what happens. The only thing that changes is gravity gives you a little bit of hand and takes it to the low end where it can drop the weight into it the easiest. So we're doing this. See, those branches are just going to get in the way though. That sucks. We drop it into it. We go to lower it. Yeah, it's going to lower it all the way over to this end because it's the low end. So if we change that, we make this the low end now. We'll just do it natural. This is natural crotch. When we lift this one is the high end. Let's see where it lowers now. It should lower down to here. If it didn't have all this stupid friction. Wow, that's crazy how much it grabs. Oh, okay, I'm wrapped all up. That's why. I was wondering. Okay. You go to lower. You have all these stupid forks on it. See, middle would that's pretty close to the middle. If this wasn't all goofy right here and it was working right, that would have went where I said. Let's see if I put it the rope around all these forks. Yeah, see? It's just these forks are fighting us. But you can tell as I go to lift it, the weight's going to travel to its designated area no matter what. If I change that there, it'll stop. You can see how it just, if the weight was on the ground, now watch, it'll lift it to this point and stay up under it because that's where the weight's going to go. This is kind of a better example of how that's going to work because it's not enough weight to actually show you, but you can tell by when you lift it. If it's just sitting there stagnant, that's where it goes. So if I move it up here though and change that point, it should lift it right in the center as opposed to up underneath this thing the whole time. See, we have these unions that kind of make it all not work right. See what I mean though? About how that branch moves? Look right in between the two. When the weight, see? Jeez. That's if you were using that thing as a natural crotch, what it would do. That's crazy. That's not much. But, yeah. So, span rigging, it's, wish I had a little pulley so you could actually see how it would work and it would not stick and cause all this friction. At the low end, it's going to kind of travel a little bit that direction always, no matter what, because of gravity and the way that works. Your angles are going to determine where it goes. If the angle to there is, the next angle is here, I mean, that's the way things work. It's going to travel down the line and end up further down here because there's the low angle, like gravity makes it. If I change that and we dropped it into it, it would travel more to the center if they were even and stop because the weight, it would pull it down. That would be the low point. But yeah, I mean, I hope the rigging explanation made sense for the most part. Is there any questions? I was kind of a jerk there. I didn't really pay attention to anything, but I wasn't planning on going too long here. Yeah, shock loading and side loading are such a major thing too. Guys just have to watch out for that. Like that limb going like this one here. A dangerous way to, like the easiest way, let's see. Yeah, that branch here. The easiest way, if I had a choice of how to break that, and someone gave me a rope, I tied it to it. There's a couple different ways I would do it. Now there's this dog leg in it right here. So to me, I've designated that a bad spot. So I could pull out there and I would feel confident side loading the branch and trying to break it. I think it would be stronger on this side because it goes up and dog legs a little bit. It goes up here and turns. That's why I feel like it would easily break that direction before it would break this direction because it's pulling it into that dog leg. It's causing the compression there instead of tension where it's trying to separate it. So there's 2 points actually to where you can get strength. Now I'm getting strength pulling back, but this union is the best. Like I'm worried that's not good for this union. So what's good for this union here is to pull it back. So your best strength with this one is probably going to come from like pulling almost like in this direction. That may be the strongest. Like, well, no, probably there. Yeah, right in there. So what it's doing is running there. Because I know I get strength here because I'm not pulling down on it. I'm starting to pull back and I'm pulling against the dog leg. I know the strength for this particular branch that goes up and then out is here to there. those are my, somewhere in there is where I'm going to want to put a redirect if I'm looking to make this thing the strongest. Same way with that split. This crack right here, that's gnarly. Like, I barely just done that and it just almost broke. I didn't even know that was cracked. But we made that thing totally fine when we ran the rope through there, because when the rope tightens, it takes the 2 points and pulls them together. The weight dropping into it causes these points to go together, which completely closes the crack. There's no way to do and use this one any better right here. But you do have some area where you could still cause that same thing. I wouldn't go above this point because the angle changes because of the dog leg there. And I wouldn't go below this point because I want to be higher than this point behind it to cause the correct compression. So my area here is going to be right in there for that ring. For this ring, it would have been, technically, I know, because I want to cause compression in this direction. If I was here, it wouldn't. It would just cause downward compression. So anywhere from like there to there. So all we did was took a very weak, flimsy tree and pulled all of these in the best directions to make it the strongest, and shared the load between 1, 2, 3, 4 points. It may take a little more thought, but it will save your life at one point. Like, that same concept right there can be used when you're trying to tie into something that's very sketchy or not in the best health. So instead of just having a singular tie-in point and trusting it and being like, well, whatever happens, happens. That's not what I do. I feel like that's what some tree guys may do, but that is absolutely not what I do. My job every single day is the same. Perform the same task over and over and over again every single day and go home safe. I say a prayer before I touch or go up a tree. Same prayer every time. Dear God, please look after me. Make sure we stay safe. I want the customer, or let the homeowner's property stay safe. Let us be safe, and let us get home safe to our families. In the Lord's name, it. Prayer. I will not go up one without that. But that's only because I'm a bit superstitious. I don't want to mess up a good thing. I feel like it saved me before. Maybe someone was looking out for me. But to figure a lot of the stuff out, there was periods of absolute stupidity where I've come close to losing my life on way more than I want to even say. So many times. So can you learn tree climbing from YouTube? If you have a lot of common sense, you can. But I think it's very, very, very dangerous. And like I said at the beginning, I'm sure there are people out there that know how to negative rig a tree, that probably know how to splice a rope, that know how to tie every knot in the world, but they couldn't climb a tree if their life depended on it. I'm sure there are people out there that know how to set up a 3-to-1 and a 5-to-1 and use every tool that a tree climber uses, but would never climb a tree. That's the YouTube world. Like, people are learning things that at times you'll learn something because you find a person fascinating. Like, maybe someone clicked through here And at some point, they stumbled across the channel and they just found this little demonstration interesting. So they hung around and they figured something out. Um, you can go through life pretending, yeah, I'm YouTube certified too. Um, you can go through life pretending like you got it all figured out and you don't need to know anything else. You know it all already. But the people that walk around like that are always, and I promise you, those are always the people that have to swallow their pride and call me and ask me to do things that they can't do. Only because they didn't want to take the time when they didn't have to and maybe learn something or pay attention to your day. It's not monotonous. Like there's things that you can learn from everything that you do and apply that to the next day. I wake up and I want to be better than I was the day before. I want to climb better than I did the day before. I want to rig better than I did the day before. And I want to be a better human than I was the day before. Um, I know it's not the cool thing to have manners and show respect, but I feel like I'm just a different. I'm a different breed. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are like me, and there's a lot of knowledge that I probably have in my head that may never get used. But I can tell you that there has been so many times that I've been in a pinch and one of these techniques or something I've learned has saved the day. So I'm that guy that everybody wants to have with them when things go wrong. I stay pretty chill because I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. Or maybe I'm just the guy that's messed up more than anyone else. And he knows how to fix a fuck up the best. Like maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Um, but like I've done everything the hard way, and I can tell you it's not fun. You know, if you're if you're in your 30s, getting into your 40s, start to come to the realization before you have to that there will be a day coming up where you can't get through it with being ballsy and brave. You now have to be big brained. You now have to use your mind and your knowledge to get things done, where before you could use brute strength or physicality. Your your mind will still have things when your body doesn't can't can't keep up. So I would say don't wait till you're in your 40s, late 50s, like before you're like, oh yeah, I should learn some of this stuff. Like I don't know about you guys, like I don't think I will ever have the ability to stop. I'm gonna have to go for until I fall over one day and just take my last breath. I'm gonna have to grind. Life's made that clear to me. Like you get no easy way out. Everything you do, you're gonna have to earn it. You're gonna have to show you appreciate it, and you're gonna have to show that you'll put effort into achieving it. So I just don't ever see myself stopping. I don't see myself being able to stop like financially. Like maybe someday I fall over and win the lottery, but I don't see that really ever happening. So you can, yeah, Jay, you can get great ideas and techniques from YouTube climbers. I think YouTube is, man, it can mold a tree climber into a like great tree climber. But I think some of those things of the fundamentals that you learn those and get good at those by doing them. you know. And nothing, like all the techniques in the world won't save you and make you comfortable in a saddle. They won't make your spikes feel right on your legs. They won't stop your knees from knocking when you try to hang on to the side of a 100-foot stick. Like your mind, like all them techniques won't stop your mind from racing and being fearful that you could at any point fall to your death. Like you need to you need to actually do it and experience it, because so much of it is a mental battle that you need to make sure you have the mindset to be able to do. Like, can you handle the nervous chaos of every cut being potential failures? Like, it's not for everybody, but I think everybody should give it a shot. Like, find out though. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What's up, Jack? I learned from climbers and courses, fallers. That's awesome. I did everything myself other than when I learned on here. That's awesome. And magazines. Afterward. I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're gonna have to, you're just like me, we're both gonna have to carry our own damn caskets out. They can grease the floor and just shove me into the hole. You don't need to put me in a, like, burn me and throw me in the hole. Actually, burn me and then take me up in the top of a tree, put me on a platform, and just put my ashes loose. And as the wind comes in, see, and like, I don't think that guys will never understand that, GP. Like, they'll never understand that there wasn't always this second, this is a secondary resource. Like, just like Educated Climber said, this can make you, like, this can polish you and make you like up your level on a daily basis, is what YouTube can do for a tree climber. I don't think it's probably the best spot to learn how to be a tree climber from though. You're never gonna know from watching YouTube videos. You're gonna know by trying it and seeing if you can physically do it, and at the same time if you can mentally handle doing it. I was too, Jay. I was fortunate my dad taught me all the basics, and like I was saying on the last live feed, I think it was, I was probably over 10 years into climbing trees before I came to the realization that there was other tools out there, like, and there was more than a snap, a rope, spikes, and a saddle. And now I carry around this massive duffel bag full of what seems like 1,000 different little tools. And I used to carry a rope. I'd have my saddle on and my spikes on, and that was it. No hard hat. Oh yeah, chainsaw. No handsaw. I had the lanyards were them big monkey fists, like adjustable ones. I seen a few videos on doing tree work. Right on. You can do it then, Martin. Oh, I think any, I think any tree guy worth his weight is has a swagger about them. They should have a confidence about them. You're doing a task that few humans even want to attempt, and most humans can't even think about attempting. Um, Not to mention, you're earning you're earning every penny of it. It's now one of them very, 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 very obsolete jobs that require physical labor. You know, people pay thousands of dollars a week to go to a gym and get the workout that you get every day climbing a tree or dragging brush or loading wood. Um, and as humans, we're trying our best to mechanize tree work and take the mechanical or the actual labor aspect of it out. This channel is the opposite of that. We we celebrate the manual aspect of it. We show appreciation to it, and I'm doing my hardest to totally deflect off all the machinery. Like, I'm not there yet. I still have it in me. Like, I still have it in me. I don't want that stuff. I think that stuff is there to help you if you need it. And like I will need it. So I enjoy every manual aspect of it. Not every day. Some days suck. Sometimes I'm mad. Sometimes I'm hurting. Sometimes I'm just absolutely downright sore and sick of doing it. But after a day or so of not doing it, I just want to go back. So, what's up, Graham? Yeah, I think everybody should try it out and see how it goes. So, actually worked for Steel for 4 years, never seen this channel until now. Oh yeah, well, this is I'm not affiliated with Steel Chainsaws. Like, that's just my YouTube channel is called Steelborn because my dad was a tree climber, and that's the only chainsaws he's ever used, and he always was a very big advocate of steel chainsaws. And he always told me, you get what you pay for. So I've used a steel chainsaw since I was born. Um, and that's the name of the channel. That's why the channel is called what it is. Doing it safe is the most important thing. Like, you can tell me, hey, I did 50,000 trees today, climbed them all out, like, but you know what? I cancel all that out. If you say, man, I did this little oak tree today. Right on. Did you guys get home safe? Everybody was good? Yep. Yeah, went perfect. That's awesome. That's a win, brother. Same guy can come back the next day. Hey, I did 50 massive oak trees today. Right on. Did you guys get it done? Everybody was safe. One guy died. But I had 50 oak trees. Me. That's not a win, man. That's not a win. Like, the real job is doing it and going home safe at the end of the day. And as close to the same condition as you went there. So, and that's why I think learning some of these techniques and stuff will save your body and keep you from hurting yourself throughout the day doing things that are harder than they have to be. Nothing is like experience, Bill. 100%. That is it, brother. Yeah, the experience you can't teach that. You can't learn that. Like, experience is earned. You can't learn it, but you can earn experience. You got to do it. So I didn't look at none of my notes here. Another thing that I need to talk about that I see, oh shoot, on YouTube, and that is, sorry, who's Marie, Jay, Mango, what's up? Cheap and shitty. That is awesome. That's awesome. So what kind you use, Mongo? Are you named Mongo because do you skateboard? After you said that, I got a visual of you pushing Mongo on a skateboard. You looked really funked up. But I probably only want negative like that because you started making fun of steel chainsaws. We had a dude here in Australia take his head home. Dude, no, no, thank you. Dude, Bill, congrats, dude. You the man. That's awesome. Mongo, yeah, I would see him with like one of them uh wild things or like a Black and Decker. His is a Black and Dicker or something though. It's spelled different. It's got a different sticker. Sounds like a Husky user. Yeah. MS-151 is a great saw, Graham. Yeah, I actually have the 150. They were only out for a really short period of time, but that's all. The only issue I ever seen was that it was air restricted. I opened up the exhaust a little bit, and the performance of the saw absolutely just changed. It did seem a bit held back until we did that. Rick the Duck. Say I hate happiness without the. Yeah, Rick, I dig it. That's funny. I almost said it, you jerk. That's hilarious. Ever used the MS? I have not. That's one I haven't ever used. Never put my hands on an 880 or an 088. I've never used. I think the biggest thing was the 660s, the 066s. Um, I don't know. I have to say something to my old man. My old man used to have a really big what was it? A Dolmar. It was a Saxon Dolmar, which I now believe is owned by Makita. So, Mongo lost. Oh, dang it, Mongo. What are you doing? You should subscribe though, Mongo. I like your sense of humor. We can argue in the comment sections every day. I like doing that. Lost ball time. Runs Husky. We did a job once for it. House Red Oak. Red Oaks are always gnarly to do. I just ordered the Rope Rider Pro yesterday. Should be here in a couple days. Bill, you'll love it. Takes a little getting used to, but when you get that thing dialed in and you're able to use it, like, and switch so easily from SRT to DRT, man, it's so nice. So, so, so nice. But 42 steel and 48 cannonball. Dude, I just seen the gnarliest bar. It was I don't even know what this thing actually came on. It probably was like a gnarly old, like, I don't know, home light or something crazy. It was massive. But the tooth size was unreal on it. And I was gonna buy it just to hang it, but they wanted like $60 and the chain was so rusted you couldn't get it to move on the bar. Dang, Martin. Dang. Yeah, I have a bunch of white oak logs that I need to get rid of that are just sitting there going to waste. I built that log arch. Well, mine isn't a log arch. I don't even know what I call the log hoist is what I called it, but just a little attachment. My biggest saw is a Dolmar. Yeah, Yeah, I could see it, Zachary. That's what my dad had. One time we were doing a job. I was really, really young, and this lady said, like, my husband used to have a chainsaw, and you always get that, and you go back there, and it's always like a 250 or like a 009, something weird. But it what did I say? Dang, Jay, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, she went out and she's like, it's right here. She pointed down, and the saw was so big, I don't think they made a box for him, and it had like an aftermarket bar on it, but it was had like a 5 foot bar, I think, something like that. I think it was a 5 foot. It was huge, but the dude had to make a wooden box to put it in. It was so gnarly. I think she sold it to my dad for like $100. I bet she did. 6 foot comfortably for slabbing. That's cool. Don't need to store logs. No, no. I set that little log arch up that I built, and we loaded a bunch of beautiful white oak logs. And I only did it because I just wanted to see if I could do it. So I had these things here. I'll show you one. These are actually motorcycle skis. If you look back years ago on the channel, I took a trailer and they went like this, and this is all cut out, and then the angle went there, and you would pull a motorcycle up onto the trailer, the front tire would go against this, and the trailer had like 6 of these on it, and the trailer would be like this way and had the neck out here, and the bikes would go on sideways. So you could fit like 6 of them, and then in the middle there was this little metal toolbox there. So I took and cut all of these off, and then with my 660 and my 362, I hand slabbed out black walnut and put a solid black walnut floor that's about 4 inches in this trailer with slabs. So it's got this beautiful black walnut floor on it. Then I took these things, and if you notice, that's about the size of like a 2x4 ish. Like, so I made an arch for the back of my trailer where my racks are at, that this slides down on the outside of the racks, and it sets down on the rack. It goes up and across, and my winch up at the neck of the thing, I have a crane winch on it, but this thing it slides onto the back across like over these 2x4s, and it's got a little pulley in the middle. So we take the winch cable, put it through the pulley, and it lifts the log up into the back of the trailer. Then I can pop that off of the pulley and then pull it straight back. But yeah, it was when I first got a welder and I just wanted to weld stuff, and I welded that thick ass metal there and the framing to my trailer and the crane and everything with a flux welder. I got pretty good with it after a while. You ever cut a cherry tree? The wood inside is orange color. Yeah. Yeah. I honestly took down, it has to be one of the biggest cherry trees I've ever seen in my life. It was like 6 of them that were, I don't know, it was the biggest cherry tree I think I've ever seen in my life. I had a guy that came from Arkansas to try to buy the logs, and the homeowner, I pulled some shady stuff. This like crackhead dude came out and ran me off of his property and said those are his, and wanted to argue with me because he just wanted, I don't even know. He like kicked me out of his yard the day the guy was showing up to buy the logs, and I think he sold the guy the logs and like took all the money. But I don't know. I got shortchanged. I came there and helped somebody do it because they couldn't, and I did the tree, and I did it for very, very, very cheap, and my money was going to come when I sold the logs. and they sat there for like a couple weeks. And then when I went back to sell them, the guy came out all like drunk and then wanted to start an argument and then ran me out of his yard. And before I wanted to fight with him over it, I just let him. Like he already knew the first thing. Like he's like, "What are you here for?" I told him that guy's coming to pick up the logs. He should be here in about 20 minutes, and he kicked me out of his yard within about 5 minutes. And then when I came back by, like later that day, and drove by, all the logs were gone. So it was a lot of money in logs. This was black cherry. So. Yep. Yeah, and a lot of times, Graham, with your bars, you got to flip them and also dress them with a flat file because if you, me personally, if you guys ever watch me do tree work, I run my chains very loose. Very, like knock on wood. I don't have my bars like I don't throw chains. Like if I threw chains all the time, I would listen to people when they're like, "You need to tighten that. You need to tighten that." No, no. I don't burn up the clutches or sprockets from having it too tight, and I just never have issues. Like, and I'll run them so loose that it is dead obvious in the videos sometimes. It looks crazy, but yeah, that's just me. I sell logs to only white pine logs. I keep all the rest for firewood. I did that, Martin, but I have like a humongous stockpile of firewood that has been sitting there for multiple years. My in-laws and their neighbors use it. I just let them take what they want because we there were times where I just wanted to help my guy out, so I would just pay him to go there and split wood. So, and before I knew it, I had so much firewood. And at one point, I was actually, for you guys that sell firewood, check your local barbecue places. If you have a barbecue joint that smoke meats and stuff, especially if you get hickories and stuff, they will buy that. They will buy that and pay a premium price because they pay outrageous from some of the guys. People do plant them. Yeah, that's true, Graham. I just drove by a damn Doka. What's going on? Yeah, I just drove by a banana tree just the other day. Yeah, I have a wood stove I made right here. Well, I made it last year to heat this place, but now I just use this little heater. Another one of them projects that I just wanted to see if I could do it. But let's see if I can get it so you can see it. It's got so much crap on it. But I don't use it anymore. Okay. So there it is. It's a old air compressor that I use. Oh, shoot. I use this magnet right here to keep the door shut. It's got this big metal top on it. This stovepipe headed out. Yeah. So I took an old air compressor and cut it up, made it work. It's got those little like decorative feet on it and stuff. It's kind of a fancy old air compressor, but it gets the job done. Um, guys, I'm done. Everybody, prepare yourself tomorrow. I like your channel because I do lots of tree jobs. It's always good to talk about those things. Yeah, 100%, Martin. Dig having you around. Yeah, I'm about to head to bed, guys. I need to go eat. I'm gonna crash out. You get prepared for tomorrow. Yeah, we have to. There's these idiots. Definitely. I feel like we're gonna end up booking a couple people and taking them straight to jail. So I'll see you next time, guys. See you tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you guys. And join the memberships. Just uploaded 2 videos. So I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.